judging from the carving on your desk, it looks like his name is Ozzy.
Yes, and apparently he rules.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
So one of my subscribers here, Mike Ayers, turned me on to this geek tyrant story about Dave Filoni, and this has been out there for a while, ever since D23, wanting to bring all generations of Star Wars fans together. And I think that's a noble cause. I think everybody should think that's a good thing to do. Pretty sure that there are black pills out there who think, you know, he's secretly having an affair with Kathleen Kennedy, whatever, you know, shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. There you go. Anyway, let's talk about this. The best people out there that are creatives aren't out there trying to please everybody. The thing that George Lucas did was he made good stories that everybody would like. But he wasn't trying to please everybody. You're not going to get anywhere if you try to please everybody, because someone is still going to get fucked. All right? Sorry for using the F word, but it's true. All right? You want to bring all generations of Star Wars fans together. Well, the vast majority doesn't want to see Han Solo butchered like a dog on a catwalk for absolutely no fucking reason. All right? We don't give a shit about girl boss Rey. And the rest of the shitty cast, all that woke crap, no. Right? And if you try to bring all of those people that like that stuff, the 5 people that are still left that like it, in with the people that grew up Star Wars, you're going to lose the people who grew up Star Wars. And we are the vast majority. We are the ones that have the money. You won't hit the right beats if you do not respect these characters and respect George Lucas. And I'm going to say this. The fact that the sequel trilogy did everything it could to undermine Han, Luke, and Leia is obvious. You know? And if you're trying to bring everybody together, it's a losing proposition, because somebody's going to get pissed off and walk away. Somebody's going to say this is bullshit. Somebody's going to say I didn't like it. Somebody's going to say, you know, we didn't get what we wanted, right? And when you're looking at the business model that goes into making movies, isn't the outcome supposed to make money? The Star Wars, with these guys, but you could print your own money as much as you want with, let's see, the movies, Buffalo box office, huge, merchandising, publishing. The only place the sequels are even remotely mentioned is in publishing now, and the books are not canon. Now, why did it work? Because George knew what beats to hit. Hero's journey, romance, adventure, good versus evil. That's universal, right? That's all universal. Without any commentary on bullshit and without any leftist propaganda. Same thing with the prequels. These are political adventures as far as I'm concerned, because The Phantom Menace, you get into the politics of the galaxy before you even set foot into Anakin's world, right? This little boy, this special kid, gets tossed into something that he doesn't understand. which is, in my opinion, fine. Okay, but here we go. A lot of people didn't like them. A lot of people thought, well, the dialogue's clunky. That was the same complaint the actors had for the original trilogy, and everybody loved them. Okay, too much CGI. So it was a new technology, and George loves technology. In the end, these movies were successful. They made money. And they've become universally liked because of it. Because they were good stories. And again, George Lucas, because he's a wise person, understood he couldn't please everybody. Because that is a losing proposition. So when Dave Filoni says, I want to bring all fans of all generations together, I look at him and go, that means someone's going to walk away pissed off. And don't sit there and act like, well, that's their fault then. No, it's not. It's your fault because you didn't know what you were doing. And you weren't willing to take the step needed to make good stories. Right? Now, there's a rumor out there that the Hollywood executives, or the Disney execs want to get rid of the sequels. All right? And because look, when you look at the sequels, and they go from earning a net profit of $700 and some odd million to 35% drop, like $390 million, 35% drop to a net for the Rise of Palpatine of $48 million, you have a problem, right? And I know a lot of people say, well, each succeeding movie lost money. And when they're talking about the OG and the PT, and it's like, did you even hear a word I just said? A drop in 3 movies between a net profit of $700 and some odd million dollars to $48 million is catastrophic. It is absolutely fucking catastrophic. Now, how are you going to convince OG fans and PT fans and the people who like both, like me, to come see your shit if you're not going to address the monumental pink elephant in the room, the failure of the sequel trilogy? Steven Soderbergh and Adam Driver were both shown the books. So they know very well that there is no future for that story to continue. Yet here we are, trying to make everybody happy? How about you just do good Star Wars and forget the sequels? So when you're talking about how you make a good movie, it comes down to the producer hiring a director that can deal with a big tent film, a writer who's got a passion for what you're doing and wants to continue the story, not rehash it, and a casting director that knows what appropriate means, right? And I find it fascinating that Disney dropped the ball, and we're so pumped up after The Force Awakens was like the first $2 billion movie, and it was awful. I mean, it took me a year to admit that movie sucked. That they allowed it to suck worse, that they allowed Kathleen Kennedy the leeway to fuck around with Rogue One, which was the only decent movie in that group, and then let her hire an untested director with the political bent of Stalin, a gay Stalin, I should say. I mean, come on. And then she was so pumped up by the story that, she let it happen. And we find out later that there were reshoots and other things, right? Okay, The Last Jedi wasn't the worst thing that could happen to Star Wars. The Force Awakens was, which led to The Last Jedi, completely different vision, to the let's pick up the pieces, try to glue them all together and see what we get in The Rise of Palpatine. It was nothing more than a soft reboot, and the net profit from $700 some odd million of $2 billion box office, which is unheard of, to a meager $48 million is utterly awful. It's a failure on steroids. They had stories. Kathleen Kennedy saying they didn't have any books. Kennedy saying they didn't have any source material. What she was referring to, and let's get the context straight, are, I quote from the Steele Saunders interview, no source material for Rey, Poe, and the rest of the garbage. And the garbage that J.J. Abrams stupidly made. And that's what she meant. My problem is the fact that you have source material. You didn't have to make up these characters nobody liked. You had it in your hands. It's called the EU. And there you go. We didn't need the bestest ever Raylo. We didn't need Kyle Ron, Daddy Butcher. We didn't need Poe. We had all this stuff already. And the Thrawn trilogy is the one I'm looking at. There are movies in these books, and they're finally realizing it, but they're not, again, addressing the elephant in the room, the failure of the sequels. Again, the failure of the sequels. Okay, the sequels were terrible. The sequels hurt the franchise. The sequels were unbearably bad, to the point where it makes you want to vomit just thinking about it. We had established characters in the EU that people loved. I mean, how could you not love Jason Solo? How could you not love Jaina? We didn't need Rey when we had Jaina. We didn't need Kyle Ron at all when we had Jason. You could make some of the things that happened not happen, like Jason going to the dark side, or, being saved by his sister, and that would work. You could have done anything with them, but Disney chose to rewrite the frickin' franchise for their own selfish interests. And what we got is garbage. What we got is utter garbage. And trying to make everybody happy by keeping the sequels relevant in even a small way hurts the franchise. It hurts what you're doing. You cannot make everybody happy. You're not addressing the problem. You're not addressing what people, are upset about, and they're upset about what was done to the OG heroes. The poor writing, the poor characterization. I mean, all they did was, slap a vagina on Luke. That's it. but a terrible version of a female Jedi who's not even really actually human if you think about it. I mean, how can the daughter of a clone be considered a human being? I have questions, okay? And they're okay to ask too. You know, these are questions that need to be asked, and these are questions that need to be addressed, because you're not going to get people to come to see a movie if there's anything to do with Rey. And I'm concentrating on her first because, you know, there are even people who were watching, the sequels going, well, Kylo Ren really is the best character out of this. No, he's not. No, he's not. He was just a tool to get rid of the OG heroes. That's it. Adam Driver's an overrated, ugly man, okay? He can't act. He looks like God decided to take, the leftovers after creation and put together whatever that is he is. And Daisy Ridley can't act. I mean, she is literally the only British actress I have ever seen in my life that you look at and go, you suck. You can't act. These are my feelings. And the idea that Dave Filoni wants to unite Star Wars and bring all the generations together, this is a failure already if he tries to do that. And the reason why it's a failure simply is because there's too much bad blood between the generations that loved PT and the OG and sequel fans. And there aren't enough sequel fans to make it worth it to make that movie, and I know he knows that. But the idea he thinks it can make everybody happy? You can't. Look, the greatest leaders in the world, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, Golda Meir, Theodore Roosevelt, Donald Trump, George Patton knew, you cannot make everybody happy. So why try? Make the best damn movie you can and address the pink elephant in the room, which is the sequels, and erase it. And then the fans that have loved Star Wars since 1977 will bring their children and their grandchildren, and you will have a new generation of real Star Wars fans, not a bunch of 300-pound blue-haired land whales and gay boys who feel like we're finally being seen. It's like nobody ever missed you. I mean, we see you. We all think you need help, all right? That's the thing. You have to get past the sequels. And I know that they're trying to do that. It's not going to work until they address the issue, which is the sequels, just by net profit alone, were an utter fucking failure. Because, and I'm going to say this again, and this is for Pablo Hidalgo and all the little Nazis that work at Lucasfilm, just because a movie barely crosses into the billion-dollar territory, it doesn't mean it was a success. And the rise of Palpatine shows that. And the fact that the last Turd Ball was a 35% drop in net profit proves that wasn't a success either. Okay? So learn some economics and business management before you start lecturing on what a success means in the film industry and business in general. All right? You cannot make everybody happy, Dave. So why don't you just make good Star Wars, address the sequels, and erase them? And if people that are working at Lucasfilm are all upset, they can leave and just hire somebody else, because I'll be perfectly honest. Nobody's irreplaceable. Well, except for George Lucas and Harrison Ford and Carrie Fisher and Mark Hamill and Hayden Christensen and Liam Neeson. All right. But those people, the Pablo Hidalgos, are replaceable. They're dispensable. They are cogs in a machine. Okay. They get pissed off. Who gives a shit? Right? Look at Spider-Man. Okay? That works because they were true to the stories. The sequel trilogy never worked. It didn't continue the story. It tried to rewrite it. And it's basically a testament to Kathleen Kennedy's inflated ego more than anything else. And you can't make everybody happy. Star Wars fans are not built that way, so stop. Okay? Stop, Dave, because you're going to fail. This is Steph signing out. I'll see you around the galaxy.